And hello, everybody, and welcome to this new episode of Haunted Histories. Now, I've got a special one for you. It is a special one for you because this lady, she just can't live without me. We've just spent 8, 9 days together touring around Canada and America. And I said to her, "You're coming on my podcast for the next hour." And she went, "Oh, all right. When?" So excited. And my company just fills her with joy, does it not, Rachel Ashman?
A little bit of joy. Do you know when you just kind of had like a lot of time with somebody and you just need a little bit of a break, and then within 24 hours of landing back in the UK with jet lag, it's like, so you coming on the podcast? It's like, oh, if I must, if I must.
You love your Essex. You love your little
And
Essex girl.
I do the fly Essex PGM, but it's yeah, we have spent a lot of time
We
together,
have,
but we never
yeah.
run out of things to talk about. So I
No,
think that we're lucky. We're
I
very
think we
fortunate,
are.
I think.
I think we are, and I think the fact we do take an interest in each other's knowledge and experiences, and I learn a lot from you when I'm around you, if I'm honest, Rach. I
You
do
mean I
learn a
bore
lot.
you? I
Have
bore you
I?
with the intricate world of immigration.
No. Have I actually fallen asleep on you yet
I
whilst you
don't
were
know.
talking?
You do go quiet at times, so it's a possibility.
Well, I seem to remember you telling me off for not going to sleep and keep asking you questions when we were in one of the hotel rooms. So, that's me being interested and wanting to start conversation. So there you go. That's a compliment. That's a
Yeah,
compliment.
at
So,
1 o'clock in the morning. You choose your moments.
actually, I think this was when we were supposed to be. It was just before I passed out when I'd just taken like a ridiculous amount of Benadryl when I got that head bite.
Oh
And I
yeah.
said, I need to have a sleep. And you're like, well, go to sleep then. And 2 seconds later, I think of another thing I wanted to mention. And then I passed out. So,
You do
yeah.
that a lot. You're very difficult to get off the phone from. We do say goodbye about 15 times, and then something else will pop in your head. And then it's like, just, I've got to go now, Penny. I really need the toilet. And be sat crossing my legs for 4 hours.
Or you need to wash your knickers in the sink.
Yes, I do. I don't miss that. I don't miss that. And but for anybody that's listening, the airline lost our suitcase.
Yeah.
I don't make a habit of washing my undergarments in the sinks in hotels. But yeah, we flew all the way to Canada, and our
Yep.
suitcases did not get on the same flight, did they?
Nope.
We received them on the fourth day, just before we
Yep.
were about to leave.
For America,
So
for the border.
it got
Yeah.
it got a bit interesting because where we were staying near Toronto Airport was so isolated. It was near
Yeah.
no shops. So we had no other option than to wash our underwear in the sink. So we had a bit of underwear bunting going on, didn't we, in the
We
bathroom?
did. We did. In fact, well, one night I did end up going down to their little laundrette with about 5 items to wash them in the washing machine because I was getting so fed up with rinsing stuff in the sink. And I think I finished it finally at midnight. I left you asleep and I put your stuff on the end of your bed in a nice little folded pile
It
as
was
well.
folded very neatly.
Mm.
And at least there was no confusion. You tend to wear like really sexy, sort of like tiny black lacy pants, and I wear Granny Bridget Jones knickers. So there was never any, we were never going to get mixed up with
No,
underwear. But yeah, it was an experience,
it
and
was an
a very,
experience.
it's an expensive experience as well, wasn't it? Really expensive,
It
really
was.
stressful.
It was, but I think Wes took great care of us, didn't he? When,
He
once he
did. What
was,
an absolute diamond.
he is a diamond. Yeah. Yeah, it was when we first started driving around with him, I was thinking, oh my God, I wouldn't want to do this driving. By the end of it, I was like, nah, it's no different to London, just on the wrong side of the road. So you never know. If we go out there again, mate, I might do the driving instead.
I think I might get taxis.
Good. I'm good. I managed to drive on the North Circular today, and 2 cars tried to take me out, and I managed to avoid both of them. There you go. Um, but one of the things we were talking about, obviously, in our hours and hours we were together, was the Festival of the Unexplained, which is on again this
Mm.
year in September. What were the dates again in September? I should know, since I'm going to
So
be there.
So it's from the 20th of September. So we are starting a little bit earlier this year because we've got a couple of things in place heading up towards the main event. So
Hmm.
we do have a ghost hunt on the Thursday.
Hmm.
Then on the Friday, no, sorry, ghost hunt's on the Friday. No, I'm
No,
confused.
Thursday.
Ghost hunt, it's on the Thursday. We've got a day trip on the Friday, and then the festival starts officially on a Saturday and
Yeah.
ends late Sunday evening. So it's a 4-day thing that you can pick and choose which parts you want to go to. What we've done this year is we've created a create your own package. You can pick and choose what you want, a pick and mix of all things spooky and paranormal, and you can attend whatever parts of the festival you want, depending on budget or interest or availability. So it's going to be a little bit longer this year.
Can I just ask, is my day trip on the Friday sold out?
Your day trip on the Friday is for VIP holders only. It's not an added extra.
Ah,
And we did sell out of all of our VIP packages.
well, there you go.
Now, fortunately, the public, we were having a tour group coming to join us. Unfortunately, that tour group is no longer coming,
Right.
so we have been able to release some more VIP tickets.
Ooh.
So if anybody does want to join you on your history talk and walk of a mysterious location,
Ooh.
then all they have to do is go to the website and purchase them.
They do know we're going to the services on the M1, don't they?
I
That's
love
the mystery
services.
tour, the service station on the M1.
Yeah, I bloody love our services. And our services, now I've experienced it, I can say that our services are so much better than the American ones.
They are a bit more comprehensive for sure. For sure. Sorry, that's the
Yeah.
dog barking for some reason. I don't know why. Somebody's obviously breathed near the house. Um,
Oh, Loki.
Loki. Tell you what, he hears me talking and he doesn't like if he that's why you're on headphones, so he can't hear you because if he could hear you,
Mm.
he'd be going mental because he needs to know who it is because he thinks the person's actually in here and he hasn't had a chance to, well, molest them, basically. But anyway, if you hear any barking in this, it's not a ghost. I promise you. It's my blooming overgrown puppy of a German Shepherd. Anyway, but yeah, it was so you've got loads of events. I think there's a isn't there a reading with Cindy Kaza
Yeah,
on the Friday? That's part of the VIP package as well, isn't it?
it is. So the
Mm.
itinerary for the festival is on the Thursday, it starts Thursday evening with a investigation. And you
Hmm.
get to investigate with Dave Schrader, Shane Pittman,
Me.
Cindy Kaiser, with PGM.
Hmm.
Sorry if you end up in her group. We've got Ron Iacovetti, we have Lourdes Gonzalez, um, and then we have Dan Class as well.
Mm.
So you're going to have the opportunity to investigate with people that you've seen on TV, that you've watched for decades. You know, we may have replicated some of their methods. They'll want to see how we do it.
Hmm.
So we got a full investigation of one of my favorite locations in the whole of the UK. Love this place. So we're going to go to the Justice Galleries in Nottingham, and it
Nice.
is absolutely my favorite place. And then Friday we have a mystery tour of a secret location, as we do every year. We don't like to tell you where you're
No,
going. So we're going on a bit of a day trip. You are going to do your magical mystery, history, murder, macabre thing,
I am
with
indeed.
lots of swear, lots of profanity, lots of jokes and props. She will rope most of us into doing to getting dressed up.
Yeah.
And then we get back on the Friday. We've got time to go get showered and go get dressed up a little bit. And then we've got the VIP lunch, the dinner. So a VIP dinner, and then straight after the dinner, Cindy is going to be doing an evening of platform mediumship.
Wow.
So really, really excited about that. So we
Mm.
are selling that as an additional option, not the meal, but you can come and see Cindy for the
Yeah.
platform mediumship night. So that's quite exciting. That has sold really well. In fact, I'm
Mm.
thinking about removing tables and putting more chairs in. There's so much
Yeah,
interest. So that's really
definitely.
exciting. Then the Friday, we have the speakers and stall holders all day. And then on the Saturday evening, we've got a bit of a party going on, and also our Bonkers Festival Awards.
Hmm.
So our festival awards aren't very sensible at all. We do like to take the mickey out of each other. And I think what's great about the festival is that you could turn up a complete stranger. By the end of it, you've made loads of new friends,
Yeah.
and you're at that point where you can have a bit of banter with people.
Yeah.
So our festival awards are just aimed at those that attended last year and the year before, and it's just really to celebrate our friendships
Yeah.
and our accomplishments. And I think one of the subjects is most dapper dressed gentleman and the best dressed lady, best karaoke singer, most abused liver, the most ridiculous host.
Hmm.
So we're just having a light heart, and please don't think that anybody's getting a really fancy, swanky award. You're not. It's a certificate that I've knocked up at work.
Hey.
That's it. But it's just a bit of fun. Then Sunday we have more guest speakers. And then we're going to do a bit of a Q&A as we do every year. So we
Yeah.
get everybody back onto stage and it's Q&A time. And then the hardest bit is when we all say goodbye and I
Yeah.
stand there at the gates waving at cars and crying my eyes out.
I think I've done this 2 years now. This will be my third year, and I've got into the car and cried every time. And I'm just like, why am I
Mm.
crying? I can't help myself. But it's such a full on event as well. I am thinking of applying to Red Bull for sponsorship this year.
Yeah, it is
Because
it
nobody
is quite
believes
full
me.
on.
Nobody believes me. Last year I was sober the whole weekend. But can you confirm that I
You
don't
were
drink?
you were stone cold sober. The year before,
A bit
you were
merry.
squiffy. You
Yeah.
were squiffy without swearing. You were squiffy.
Yeah.
But last year, you were very well behaved. Not one sip of alcohol passed your lips. I can vouch for that.
Thank you.
Kept going to the bar. I kept trying to encourage you to drink, and you were very good and just ordered soft drinks.
Yep.
So
In
yes,
fact,
you were
the
very good.
Moss, he tried to pour Kraken down my throat at one point, and I told him if he tried to do
Oh,
it, he would end up wearing it down his nice white shirt because I don't drink. He gave up after that point. So,
oh, the Kraken is still a very touchy subject amongst our circles. So we did, so last year we did a raffle and I'd had loads of booze donated. So I did a raffle and all the earnings from that, everything we made, all the donations, all went to CALM, which is the campaign against living
yeah,
miserably for mental health in
great
men.
charity. Yeah.
And so we'd done the raffle, and somebody won the bottle of cherry flavored Kraken. Was it AD? I
It was
think it was
80.
AD.
It was
The
80. Yeah.
terrible who influences that young man. So we're
Hmm.
going round. He's going round, and he's like, try this, try this. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was just like like a Jaeger or something. I drank it, and I stood there for what felt like 50 minutes, but was probably only a few seconds. And honestly, I thought my ancestors were coming for me. I I just died there on the spot. It was the most hideous thing I've ever drank in my life. So it completely ruined anybody that touched it. So it would have been a very formal and very sophisticated evening if it wasn't for AD and his Kraken. So no Kraken this year. It will not be donated and it will not be a prize.
I have a feeling that Danny Moss is going to bring something in hidden under his jacket.
I have no doubt. I have no
Yeah.
doubt. And when you've got someone like Neil Story backing him up as well,
True. Yeah, the two of them together, it's like Laurel and
they are
Hardy.
they are indeed at the Anthem deck of the paranormal world.
True. True. I was thinking more though the Laurel and Hardy, the way that the things that they get themselves into. Because they're taller
You
than Anton
must
Deck. So
Yes, but you must remember that some of us aren't as old as you and don't really remember Laurel and Hardy.
on that note,
Oh,
right. Did you
oh,
still
the
want me to do
face
the
you
day trip? Did
pulled.
you still want me to do the day trip, or would you like me to pull out?
Well, what we could do is I could put on a blonde wig and a weird accent and
And
walk
go
about on
and
my
I was
knees,
gonna say
pretend to
walk on your
be
knees.
walk on my knees.
Oh
You're
my
so
days.
tiny.
Uh,
You're so tiny.
I am tiny compared to people like you and Wes. But, compared to some of the people we were at the Shanley with, I was average height.
I was actually very surprised at the average height of an American person
Mm.
because I did feel very tall
And
around
I,
because
I felt
I wore
normal.
flats.
I'm not
Mm.
used to feeling normal. And I felt normal. So thank you to our American friends who were with us because you made me feel normal and I rather than abnormal. Like the fact that there's photos of you, me, and Wes at Eastern State, and I look
Mm.
like your child. So yeah, yeah. But the festival is definitely something, if you've not thought of looking into it, it's taking place at the Bosworth Hall Hotel in Market Bosworth in um, East Midlands. Have a look into it. There are some tickets still available if you want to come. And it's I think what it's different to some of the Paracon. I mean, we attended a Paracon obviously whilst we were out there,
We
and
did, yes.
but this is more interactive. Although I kind of made the Paracon we attended interactive in the fact that I was wandering around chatting to the special guests, and it was a standing joke that Ron couldn't get in to see Brian Cano. And I said, I'll get you in to see him. He goes, no, no, they keep telling me he's busy. And I went, I'll get you in. And they were like, you won't be able to do it. I said, I will. I will. I won't take it no for an answer. And so seeing Kyle, who was one of the organisers, saying, oh, this is Ron. He wants to talk to Brian. He's a friend of his. Can we walk straight through? Oh, yes, Penny, it's fine. Walk straight through. And the woman on the door going, oh, you're here to see Brian. I said, yeah, Carl said we can go in. It's okay, isn't it? And I don't give him a chance to say no. And they reckoned I could get them into the White House if I wanted to, which maybe. But talking about Cindy, name dropping, I was chatting to Heather Taddy about her. I don't know if you did. And she was saying how she's absolutely amazing and one of the best psychics, mediums that she's ever worked with for how
Yeah,
spot on she is.
that seems to be the feedback from everybody that I've
Mm,
spoken to, not just here in the UK, but over in
mm,
America, is that she is the real deal,
yeah,
and the things that she comes out with are phenomenal.
yeah.
And Heather's lovely, isn't she? Heather's brilliant.
I've
So
got such a girl crush on her now. I have got a
she's fab.
major girl crush on her.
Yeah, Heather and her other half. Joe?
Joe, yeah.
Joe?
He's a
Yeah.
drummer in a band called the Menzingers, if anyone's interested. And we were talking music in the end.
Were you both talking music, or were just you
Yes.
talking music
No,
and he
we
was
were
nodding politely?
cheeky bugger. No, we were both talking music because he said he plays in the UK a lot. And I said,
Yeah.
where? And he says, I remember my first gig in the UK was in a place called Norwich. Have you heard of it? And I just burst out laughing. I said, yeah, I lived there for 20 years. Yeah, I've heard of it. Which is weird because when we did the Mifflin investigation, you weren't there because you were poorly. The Staticom device, when asked where I'm from, said Norwich distinctly.
It's
And nobody everyone's sitting there was going, Norwich? Is there a place called Norwich? Have you heard of Norwich? And I'm sitting there going, yeah, I lived there for not from it originally, but I lived there for 20 years. So yeah, Norwich got mentioned twice on this trip, which is very strange because most
hmm.
people, even people in the UK, don't know where Norwich is. So, but yeah, the first gig he played in the UK was in Norwich. So, yes, we were both talking. I wasn't talking at him, you cheeky cow.
I'm so sorry. I'm not sorry, but I
No,
am.
you're not. You're not sorry. You're going to be sorry when I block your number, but up until that time. On
Oh,
that note,
happy
no,
day.
see, I can't see her face right now, so I can't see if she's going, yes.
So it's a
Anyway,
little bit, yeah. Yeah, a little bit.
good job I don't take this personally. Um, right, so when she stopped giggling at me,
Sorry. It's because I can see your face and I can see that you keep sticking your tongue in your cheek as though to say, "Oh, I swear to God, I'm gonna batter her when we got off this call."
it's also I'm trying to think what to say to sound professional and nice rather than to sort of let the expletives flow forth. Um, it's my way of
Corporate head.
hesitating. Pardon?
Sticky corporate head on. Let's be
I'm
sensible.
trying, but my corporate head today, the client I was with, there was a lot of expletives because she's a North Londoner, and so yeah, the conversation did get on both sides got quite blue at times. Anyway, so the place we're going to be talking about, you've already mentioned it in the
Yes.
conversation, yes, it's the
Hmm.
Galleries of Justice in Nottingham. Now,
Yes.
when I first started doing haunted histories back in 200 AD, it was one of the first locations I actually interviewed someone on. So it's great to be able to come back to it because my ability to research stuff has changed, and it's always great to hear somebody else's view. And for you to be a seasoned investigator to be so emotive about a place, I'm intrigued to know why.
Oh, I
Now,
love it there.
well, it's been on my to-do list ever since I first interviewed someone about it 8 years ago. So I've just never got round to doing it. But I like Nottingham. I don't know why I've not done it, but I haven't as yet. So I'm very looking forward to September. Very, very looking forward. I'm going to be geeking out. So if anyone's in my group and all they do is see me going at things, I am sorry. I will be professional at times. But the galleries are obviously Nottingham is an incredibly old place. Did you
Yeah.
know what the Saxons used to call Nottingham?
I have. I don't know. You're the historian. Tell me.
Snotter Ingerhatton.
do. It's catchy. I can't imagine why they
Snotter
changed
Ingerham,
it.
hence Nottingham, Snotter Ingerham, and it
Mm.
means village belonging to Snotter.
Oh, what an
I just made me
unfortunate
laugh.
name.
I thought it made me laugh. I mean, I get where Nottingham has come from. If it's Snotter Ingerham, Nottingham isn't too far of a sort of bastardization of that, but that's yeah,
Mm.
Snotter Ingerham. Obviously it's had settlers there as far back as well, even before the history books started logging them. Um, but the earliest recordings of a court being in Nottingham, but not necessarily where the galleries are, but possibly in that area, was back as far as 1375. Although
Hmm.
they think there could have been them there back when the Normans were there in the 12th century, but there's nothing recorded to say where their courts were. But they did have a court
Yeah.
system. They did have a justice system. The the
The, sh
Normans, the
the,
conquerors, whatever you want to
they
call
had
them,
sheriffs, didn't they,
they
back
did.
then?
Yeah.
Sheriffs.
And there's one article I read that said perhaps that's where Robin Hood's nemesis, the Sheriff of Nottingham, was based. I think that's a bit of a tenuous link,
Mm.
but it's possible.
It is,
The
but I like it.
yeah, but you know me, I'm a historian. I don't like tenuous. I like fact. I like, I like to see it written down, primary source material and all that shit. But 1449 is the earliest recording of there being a prison on
Hmm.
site. But most of what we see now dates back to the mid 18th century when it was all refurbished.
Yeah.
Um, the jails closed there in 1878. And the courts, though, didn't open in a new place until 1991. Now, I know you were a baby in 1991. I was not. I was,
How old was I then in 1991?
well, I
My
was
maths is
18.
terrible.
I was 18.
I can tell I'm tired. Why can't I work out how old I was in 1991?
You,
Nine? Nine.
you were, yes, you were a child. Because I
I
was
was
saying,
nine.
I was 18. Um, so I
My
was
God,
just
you're old.
I know I am. I look good for it though.
You did.
I was just finishing my A levels and starting my first job. So there you go, 1991. But that's when the courts there actually moved to a different location. So it's relatively recently, in the grand scheme of things,
Mm.
that it in effect turned into well, what it is now is a museum. Um, the last public hanging that was there was in 1864. So again, I mean, hangings stopped being public in 1868. So there were quite a few hangings there. I was looking up the list of, because I'm morbid like this, I was looking up the list of hangings there from sort of the mid 1700s onwards, and there were quite a few. But the one that was there in 1864, I thought was quite interesting. It was a 29-year-old guy called Richard Thomas Parker, who's known as Tom. And he was having an argument with his parents and he shot at them. He grazed his dad and he thought he'd only grazed his mum, but 2 months later she died as a result of the gunshot wounds. And so he was hanged for murder. His dad was so adamant he hadn't done it. He kept saying, no, it wasn't him. And I'm the only witness to it. And I'm telling you it wasn't him. So therefore it can't have been him and you can't. And when he was being hanged, he actually said, well, I'm going to kill myself now. You've killed my son. But he actually did admit to doing it and said, I don't know why I did it. I was drunk. I was in a bad mood. Um, but when I was looking up the records, being the nerd that I am, his mum was 12 years older than her husband. Good girl.
Oh,
Good girl.
oh,
It was her second husband. So I haven't looked into who her first one was, but yeah, she was 12 years older than him. And I'm just
oh, that,
thinking, you go, Cougar.
yeah, that's unusual.
Yeah. And she had him when she was 44. So yeah,
You
I
know,
thought I was just that's what I find fascinating about looking into this sort of stuff. It's
what a game old bird.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, 12 years older than her husband. Oh, I'm just sitting there giving her a little round of applause. All right, she died, but you know,
Yeah, but you're not, you're almost that old, that much older than your husband, though, aren't
bloody
you?
am not. It's half that. Thank you very much. It's nearly 7 years. It's
You know,
nearly 7 years
that's
between us.
yeah, but that's almost unheard of, though, isn't it? Somebody in that time period
Definitely in that time period.
taking a younger husband.
Yeah.
It's usually the way around. So yeah, that's interesting.
I have seen some when there's been an age gap, when they've been past the age of being able to have children. but he was still very much able to have children. And if she was in her 40s when they met and he was 28, that would have been, it almost makes me wonder if she was pregnant and that's why they married. But
Wow.
anyway, I don't know. I
See,
don't
see,
know
I'm
that.
thinking it's like a landlady tenant thing, because
If,
that was common, wasn't it?
uh,
Falling in love with your landlady, who's a spinster or a widower, and you
um,
married for the security.
well, my great grandmother, she was the housekeeper and she ended up falling in love with the owner of the house.
Ooh,
Have I not told you that story?
no, you haven't. Oh, I
Oh.
like that.
So,
Very Downton Abbey, isn't it? I
well,
like
well,
that.
it wouldn't have been that grand, but no, up in Middlesbrough, she had been married she had three children, I think under five, one of them being my grandfather, and her husband worked in the steel mills. He died in his early 30s of what we now know to be like a asbestosis type steel related
Okay.
but at the time obviously they didn't know this was 1920s. They had a tied cottage and she was given 24 hours to get out of it after he died. Three young children,
Oh,
Middlesbrough, not a rich part of the world. The only
nope.
person she could turn to was her mum, who lived in two rooms. She said, I haven't got room for you and the three kids. I'm really sorry. So she went to the poor union and asked them for a loan to buy a sewing machine so that she could take in tailoring and repairs and stuff to make enough money to put rent down on two rooms for her and her
Mm.
children. The poor union said, nope, the only option is the workhouse. She turned around and basically told them where to go, is the so the family story goes, and said, no, I'm not doing that. All I want is I want to make my own living. I just can't, I've got three kids under five. I can't really go out to work. So her mother in the end said, we'll make this work somehow. So she moved in with her mum, and a job came up to be a housekeeper for this gentleman, Mr. Clark. And yeah, he said she could live there with her three kids on the top floor of the house.
Mm.
And they ended up falling in love. And I think they had two more kids together.
Oh, I like that.
Nice,
It's a
isn't it?
nice story.
I
I
normally
like
tell that
that.
story when I do my workhouse talk because it's proof that you weren't forced to go in the workhouse. It was still a
Yeah.
choice. And I quite like the thought of my great grandmother sticking her fingers up at the poor board and saying, screw you, I'll find my own way then. But yeah, she ended up falling in love with the owner of the house that she was the housekeeper for. And yeah, he took them all in. So,
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's a nice story. I can't
isn't
believe
it?
you've been holding that back. I like
I
that.
thought I told you that story. I've told so many people it. I wrote it in one of my books, and my dad's cousin, she bought a copy of the book, and she sends me a message. She goes, "Is that Grandma Amelia you're talking about?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, good story, isn't it?" I can't remember who the family told me it, but it was somebody who knew I was interested in the workhouse and told me that story. And I just think, having seen photos of her as this little old lady at my mum's wedding, it's like I can't imagine her being that sort of feisty. But then I should remember, really, she's from Middlesbrough, so she would have had that
Oh
spark in
yeah.
her, wouldn't she?
Yeah, we get fight the further north you get, the
Mm.
fiercer we get.
Well, she was a proud Yorkshire woman because Middlesbrough was Yorkshire back then. But yeah,
It's
she.
fake Yorkshire.
You tell my dad hear you say that. Cool, blimey, that's where he's
Fake
from. He's
Yorkshire.
Yorkshire as far as he's a Yorkshireman through and through. But yeah, so yeah, that was so people did fall in love with, there was companionship and
Mm.
stuff. But yeah, this woman, 12 years older than her husband. And all I thought was, you go, girl, you go. Although, son was a bit of a wrong one and ended up shooting her. But but yeah, he was hanged at Nottingham. And what's even more interesting, which is going to lead me on to the first part of it I want to talk to, his body was buried in the exercise yard.
Yeah,
Now, I've been told the exercise yard is quite a spooky place.
it's incredibly spooky, yes.
Tell me more.
So there are actually two exercise yards. There
Right.
is there's the one on the ground floor, which is surrounded by a high wall. Um, so if you were to go into the building, that was where all the holding cells were.
Hmm.
And in the exercise yard, it wasn't just the exercise yard, but they also used to hang people in there as well. So it used to be
Yeah.
open to the public. And there are There are hundreds of people buried under that exercise yard.
Mm.
There is graffiti all over the walls, which is incredible. You look up at the windows and it feels like people are watching you from out of those windows. So if you were waiting to be executed or you're waiting to be deported because penal transportation
Hmm.
was really big,
Mm.
especially from Nottingham, if you were there, you'd see everything. You'd see people mooching about. You'd watch the public coming in and watching these executions. But I love the graffiti in the walls. It's so clear still. You see the dates and names of people that had
Wow.
spent some time in there within the exercise yard. It's not really that big. If you think of how many people would have resided in that building,
Yeah.
and the exercise yard is quite small, and it was just used for the men. Now there were women's quarters
Mm.
where the women used to sleep higher up upstairs, and they had the sort of the household duties to do.
Yeah.
They do all the washing and the delousing of new people that were coming in. Their exercise yard was actually just a terrace, and it was about 4 floors from the ground. So
Mm.
there was never any way you were ever going to escape. Now, one woman did actually escape from
Hmm.
that exercise yard, and it is a small exercise yard.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what I can compare it to. You could probably get 20 people stood on there, and you might be stood shoulder to shoulder, but that was their only exercise space. And it would just be to go out there and grab a breather. They didn't
Mm.
really have a chance to mooch about, but they had more freedom within the prison than the
Yeah.
men did. So the exercise yard itself is quite spooky. The walls are really high, so it feels very closed in. They
Mm.
have they have the noose up there as well, so that's all still there. The stage with the noose, it's all sectioned off. Although I did see somebody try to climb up there and put his head through the noose at one point. Absolutely ridiculous. But the graffiti and the history that's carved into those walls is incredible. And I say, when you look up at the windows, there are hundreds of windows, and it just feels like there's a face popping out at every one of them.
Yeah.
One of the things that I try to do when I'm there is I'll stand as far back as possible from the windows and just try and take as many pictures as possible.
Mm.
One of the one of my favorite bits of kit is actually using my iPhone. I love the live function of that
Hmm.
it captures, sort of milliseconds either side of the
Yeah.
photograph that you're taking. I've captured some incredible EVPs using just an iPhone and a live photo function.
Yeah.
So I love to use that, and it's a great way of just doing blast photographs and being able to see if it is light glare, is it appearing everything else? And I actually went with my team, Lost All Paranormal. We went, and Nikki captured she captured something in the window. We just couldn't explain it away because we'd taken bursts of photos.
Right.
It was about two floors high, and
Okay.
over towards the right hand side above the entrance where you would walk into the prison from the exercise yard. And she caught something in that photo, but we just can't make out what it is, but it's just not there in any other photo. So that was quite an interesting one. But
Mm.
other than that, visually, we haven't really captured much evidence within that particular area,
Right.
but it's a really sinister feeling.
Yeah.
There's an entrance there's an entrance at either side of the exercise yard, and then there's the main entrance, which is where members of the public would come in through the gates there. And either side is each stairwell is incredibly creepy, and
Mm.
it feels busy. You could stand alone in this courtyard and you still feel like you're surrounded by hundreds of people.
Mm. Well, I know that when I looked at the prison records, because I found some lists of how many were in there, it wasn't actually that densely populated as a jail because people tended to get moved on to like a house of correction or executed or transported. When it did get really busy was when there was an execution. And that one I was mentioning, the one whose mum was 12 years older than her husband, Richard Thomas Parker, the newspaper report said there was in excess of 12,000 people piled into that recreation yard to watch him get hanged.
And I honestly can't envisage that many people in such a small space.
Mm.
They would have been really cramped in there, and
Mm.
chances are that most of them came away covered in claret. So it was that tight in there.
There were a few people got crushed. They had to move some of the people outside the gates, according to the newspaper reports, because there was a crush going on with people who wanted to see Parker. get hanged. I mean, I find it a bit odd, if I'm honest, wanting to see someone get murdered, but
Mm.
um,
I suppose maybe it depends on the crime, doesn't it? And it was entertainment at the time too, so
mm,
it's
yeah,
yeah.
true,
It
true. But
was
I
it
still,
was an incredibly poor area as well, was
yes,
Nottingham back in the day, because you had all the lace markets there,
that's right.
and
Yeah.
the amount I think a lot of the people that used to be held there in the prison, they didn't really have any money, and that's evident
No.
when you see where they used to be kept. So one of my favourite parts of Nottingham, the jail within the galleries, is actually the caves underneath, and there are hand dug pits where they just used to throw people down there. Oh, she's got notes. I'm skipping ahead
It's
here, aren't
fine.
I?
It's fine.
I'm skipping
I've
ahead.
done this for quite a while. I can kind of mix and match what I'm talking about. But yes, I was going to be mentioning the dungeons. Yes. Go on. Keep
Yeah,
going.
the pit. So yeah, the pits are incredible. As you go down some of the stairs, and you met with the sort of the delousing area,
Mm,
and then there would be a little hold where the priest or bishop would spend some time there. Then you go down this very narrow and very low corridor that's all dug out by hand,
mm,
complete cave, and you go through into these pit areas, and you can stand in there, and they've carved out seating along some of the walls so people could sit, but there is no natural light in
yeah.
there. It's incredibly hard to breathe. It's really dusty,
Damp.
and it's super damp. You can
Mm,
smell it as soon as you walk down there. And bearing in mind that building's very well maintained,
mm,
it's a grade two listed building, so it's all very well maintained. But it's just the most horrific place. To think that they just used to throw people down there for stealing bread, or that they might have been drunk and disorderly, and they just threw them down there for weeks on end,
yeah.
and then they'd be like, oh, off you go, or they die in there. But it's really not a great place to be. And I've had some really weird experiences in that area in particular.
Mm,
And it was from the pits that I believe that I brought something home with me. So I've only ever brought something home with me once. It was a rookie mistake. And I was stood at the entrance of the cave in front of the corridor. And I'm like, right, come on now. You don't have to stay in there. Everybody, come on. It's time to go. Let's leave. I'm like, come with me. Oh, well, what did I say that for? So somebody took it literally, and they did come home with me. And whilst it didn't affect me directly, it seemed to attach itself to my eldest daughter, Iris.
oh.
So there was one day I'd gone to work, and Iris was in the back of the car, and the car was being filled up with fuel, and she looked in the mirror. She was looking in the rearview mirror, and behind her was a dirty man with barely any teeth, like just grinning at her. She said
Oh,
he looked filthy in rags, and she was absolutely terrified.
bet she was.
So yeah, so when her dad came back to the car, she was crying her eyes out, shaking, trying
Oh.
to get away from the back seat. So it took some cleansing, but it finally left her alone, and left the house. But yeah,
Hmm.
it took a real shine to Iris, who was maybe 4 or 5
I was
at the
going to ask
time.
how old was she at this point?
Yeah, she was about 4 or 5, that age where children are more sensitive to
Yeah.
spirit anyway. And Iris seems to have a little bit of sensitivity when it
Mm,
comes to spooky things. She was always talking to people in our house.
mm,
My house was built in the 1600s, so
hmm.
she'd always be sat talking to whoever was there. But yeah, it came home with me. It's the only place I've ever taken anything home. I learned a valuable lesson from that investigation. Now I cleanse the crap out of myself anytime I leave anywhere, and I'll cleanse anyone else as well if they want it.
Is it the
But
same
I will
level of
not take anything home.
is it the same level of regret that you have given me your phone number?
It's the same kind of regret I had agreeing to go on a trip to Canada with you and saying, yes, okay, we'll share a bed when we get to America. It's that kind of regret. But
Anyone listening, it really wasn't that bad. We are just teasing each other. There is
wasn't
the
it?
well, seeing as you grabbed my hand one night, no, I think you were okay.
I think that's cute. I think it's adorable that you fell asleep. I fell asleep, and I held your hand
You
whilst we
you
slumbered.
grabbed my hand and stroked it. It was so
And
sweet, and I'm like,
cute.
the hell's going on? Um, yeah, I mean,
We
I
digress.
we did digress. I was trying to make light of a serious subject. I think, I mean, touch wood, and I'm touching wood right now. I have had something follow me in the car from when I think it was when I did the British School Museum at Hitchin, but it was a
Mm.
child who just took a shine to me because I'd been talking to them, and I told them they had to go back, and because I saw a face in my mirror in the back of my car, kid nearly
Yeah.
crashed the car. But and I just said to them, you can't stay, you've got to go back. I can't take you home. I'm going to pull over if you don't leave. And the face just vanished. And
Mm.
but yeah, but something like that. I mean, yeah, protective mum, definitely. But yeah, you say it's a rookie mistake and you learn.
Yeah, and
But
it was actually one of the first investigations that I'd done. I'd only been
yeah.
to a few other places before that. So whilst I've really been into the paranormal since I was little, I used to see things when I was tiny. And
Mm,
I've always had a fascination in the paranormal, but never really went on investigations.
hmm.
So this was probably only the third investigation I'd been to,
Yeah.
and the first two were flat. They were about as haunted as my new shoes. And I think it'd been done to death, it'd been cleansed to death, and they were flat. There was nothing
Yeah.
going on there. This place, though, Justice Galleries, there's something really sinister in that building,
Do you
something really
think
bizarre.
do you think there's something to do with the stone? Like, no, I don't mean stone tape. I mean the composition of the stone. Or, you know how a lot of people think Bodmin Jail, for example, the reason that place
Mhm.
is so active is because it's basically built on granite, which is limestone.
Yeah.
Do you think something similar could be the case in Nottingham? Because Nottingham does seem to be a very haunted place. I mean, we're just talking about one particular location in Nottingham, but you can pick just about any location in Nottingham and people will tell, oh my God, I can tell you some stories.
Hmm.
Do you think it's the stone?
I'm not sure if it's a stone. I believe in energy.
Mm,
Everything we do and everything we say, everything we touch, leaves behind an energy imprint. So this conversation that we're having right now, what's to say that in 50 years' time, someone isn't sat here with a voice recorder in my house and they're hearing this
mm,
conversation between the two of us.
yeah,
Everything we do leaves behind an energy imprint.
yeah,
And some stones are able to absorb that energy better than others. And we all know limestone is particularly
mm,
it's a great conductor for that. But within Nottingham, it's not just the galleries, but just next door, well, just at the bottom of the hill, you have a whole series of underground caves, hand
mm,
dug caves. Go to the Robin Hood
yeah,
experience, there is a hand dug pit down there.
yeah,
And it's just a series of underground hand dug caves down there. So it can't be that firm a stone if they've been going in and they're able to dig out these pits with such ease.
yeah,
But yeah, I think it's just the energy and the misery that some of these areas have seen. The pits in particular, it just had the weirdest vibe. I was sat on one of the benches, on one of the carved benches against the side of the wall, and it felt like somebody was sat next to me. I could feel the fabric of my t-shirt, sort of touching my arm,
yeah.
and you just never feel like you're alone in there. So many weird experiences in other parts of that, but I don't mention it in case it's on your list.
It's all
And then
right.
jump
It's all right. I
jump
don't
ahead
I
on your
don't mind you
list.
reading my notes. I'm a professional, me. I can jump around my notes. The interesting thing about the deep dungeons, as they were technically called, the
Mm,
caves that you're talking about, was they were actually used for that. You mentioned it earlier, you alluded to it earlier. They were used for those criminals who didn't have any money to pay for a slightly
yeah,
nicer cell above ground.
yeah,
So
porpoise pits.
sort of, yeah. But
Mm,
it was also used as a debtor's prison. Now, the debtors, interestingly, did get reasonably nice rooms. They got slightly smaller ones if they didn't have any money, but they never got put down in the pits. It was pure criminals who got put
yeah,
into the pits. And it was actually as early as, I think it was 1784, I was reading a report by like a prison investigator sort of thing who was like, I can't believe you're putting people down here. And I mean, to give people an idea of how small these cells, for want of a better term, are, none of them were any taller than 7 foot high. Now, I'd be all right. I'm 5'2", but anyone 6 foot or even just under 6 foot, it wouldn't be able to stretch up. The other thing as well that it mentioned was there was one of the now we visited Eastern State Penitentiary, and you and Wes didn't try and climb through some of those doors, did you? Because of how
I,
they felt
I
like
went
rabbit
through.
hutches.
I went through one,
Mm.
and I almost had to double myself over.
Yeah.
My head was by my knees to try and get
Yeah.
through those
Well,
doors.
even I had to duck to go into those, if you remember rightly, and I'm not very tall.
I have. I have photographic evidence of you trying to get through that door.
Well, it actually said that some of those cells, the cells were 8 foot by 5 foot. I mean, so I couldn't actually lie down in one of them, like widthways, with a doorway that was only 4 foot 6 high and 2 foot
Hmm.
wide. Now, we discussed, we were talking about it at Eastern State, weren't we? Like, why would they make the doorways that small? Is it to make someone feel really small and insignificant because they're having to like contort themselves into a shape to get into their cell? It's almost like sending them down a tunnel into a cave.
Mm.
That's exactly what these were. It's like sending them into, I say, a rabbit hutch that they can't. I just can't imagine how dehumanizing that would have been, regardless of what your crime was. I mean, we're talking the 18th century here. You'd think that the Georgian period, they were a little bit more, yeah, they were still executing people and they'd execute you for stealing a sheep. But a 4 foot 6 high door, even when the average height of people was about 5 foot 4, that still means the most people are going to have to duck and 2 foot. I mean, 2 foot is what? And people can't see my hands here, but what's that? 2 foot? So that's
I don't
about the
know.
width. It's about the,
Measurements rough. You're on a screen. It's hard to
okay.
distinguish.
That is
Oh,
slightly wide.
she's gone Vogue.
Yeah.
Stop
It's a
voguing at me.
it's a bit wider than my shoulders.
Yeah.
So someone of normal size would have had to go in sideways and ducking at the same. Whether it was done deliberately or whether that was as large as they could make the doors, because like you say, they were cutting them out of stone. It just so they're punishing someone for committing a crime. The chances are they committed the crime because they have no money. So they're punishing them again for having no money, and they're sending them into like this unventilated, unlit hole. I
Yeah.
just
The
can't.
pits are just when you need to actually see the pits to really believe it and to
Mm,
understand. It's hard to envisage people actually living in there and being in there for a long period of time.
mm,
Just next to the pit is actually a couple of isolation cells, and those those are small rooms. There's a small bed in there, a very small wooden frame bed, and I've laid on one before. You lay on it, and you can actually touch the other wall, the opposite wall, and your arm would be bent. You can't stretch your arm out to touch the wall. And that's how close it is. You can literally just walk down the side of it. Again, there's no daylight, there's no
mm,
ventilation, and they were the isolation cells. And they were still better than the pit. They were
yeah.
still better than the pits. So the debtor's prison is just off that. So
Mm,
if you're stood in the courtyard, if you're stood in the exercise yard, you go down some steps and it takes you into the depth of prison. And they are slightly bigger cells. It's much cleaner. There's lots of
mm,
windows there, but the prices to stay there, the prices
mm,
for the food there were
yeah.
extortionate. So even if you were a well-to-do family, you had means, you had income, you had things you could sell, it would still cost you an arm and a leg just for a slice of bread.
Yeah.
So it was so expensive, but the conditions were much nicer.
Yeah.
There's only around 4 cells in there, so it was a
Yeah.
lot smaller. So they really weren't looking to accommodate people with means. Instead, they just seemed quite satisfied with throwing men into the pits, and the
Mm,
women would be 4 floors high,
yeah.
and
They
they
were
would
normally
all
kept, were they
share.
kept in the laundry room? A lot of women,
So
weren't they?
it was, yes, it was the lawn.
Mm,
You had the laundry area, and just off the laundry area was a bedroom, quite a large bedroom with
mm,
one huge bed made of
mm,
wood, no mattresses. So you would probably get 30 women sleeping on this one bed, like an American style bed. It's
mm,
huge. And there's a fireplace, a window, and then a mirror. That
mm,
was all that was in that room. And you would have anywhere up to 30 people, 30 women staying in there.
yeah.
As you came out of the bedroom, that is where their exercise yard was,
Yeah.
that balcony area. And then you would have where they used to work and hang the clothes, wash them, dry them. So everything was within 2 or 3 rooms. There
Mm,
was no freedom to do anything. There was no fresh air. There was no break,
mm,
and they'd have to take it in shifts to sleep because there was just no room for everybody to sleep on this bed. So think of the amount of bacteria and germs and diseases that were on the rags they were sleeping
yeah.
on. Conditions were terrible.
Well, a lot of them would have used they used straw mattresses, and that straw wasn't replaced very often. So yeah, that would have wouldn't have been very pleasant.
Absolutely horrible.
I know I was
And
looking.
the original bed is still there as well,
Is a
which is fascinating. The original bed is still there.
I was looking at this 1784 report, and at the time they only had one woman prisoner when this report came round, and they had their own room. And they said this is the women's room. This is the only one we've got, and it was one room, tiny room, according to this report. And the investigators said, "Well, what happens if you get more than one?" And they went, "Oh, they have to go and sleep in the cells with the men."
Oh wow.
He was like, "I think you need to change that," and that's possibly why from what I can make out from reading these reports, that's why it changed. Because in 1811, they did another survey of the prison, and they'd gone back down into the dungeons, the pit, wherever the caves, and
Hmm.
the jailer said, "Oh, we don't use those." And the investigator said, "Well, why are they all prepped, ready to be used?" "Oh, we just like to keep them looking like that." Right.
Oof.
Okay. It's it's one of those things. It's hard to think, if you've got someone down there who, and there's some of the murder cases I was reading that got tried at Nottingham and would have been held at Nottingham, you almost want them to be thrown down a pit, to be quite honest, some of the stuff
Hmm.
that some of them did. But then there's also the sort of human rights side of you that's thinking this is meant to be sort of like, more as Britain started to modernize in the 18th century, and yet they're still condoning throwing people into a dungeon dug into a cave. It's a bit hard to sort of understand how on earth that's going to help anyone, especially when you look at the changes in the penitentiary systems in the States and what they were starting to bring in there, like, comparing it to stuff like that. It's that, and even looking into some of the other prison systems in the UK, it's very barbaric compared to what some of the others were starting to try and achieve.
And
Um,
then with some of the extensions that they built, the building that overlooks the exercise yard, the courtyard,
mm,
those were very serviceable cells. They were what we would envisage a cell to look like with
yeah,
the iron bar doors. They had the stone line wash walls. They had windows with bars. So it's what we would envisage a prison of that time to look like.
yeah,
And it was all very serviceable, but lots and lots of rooms in there.
mm,
Most of them were all there waiting to be transported.
mm,
Um, but still, they utilized this inhumane system of throwing people into pits,
mm,
and it's almost like it was built for show. So
yeah.
this entire block was built for show, and to save money, they just threw people in the pits. It was the ultimate punishment, and I can imagine it was a great deterrent for people at the time because they would never want to go in. And
I don't
I
know.
wonder how many people went in there and never came back out because it is that terrible down there. There are no facilities, there are no holes to go for a wee, there were no buckets. You had
The only
a few candles.
the
That
pit
was your only light.
the pictures I saw of it made me think of like the dungeons that they threw the Pender witches into at Lancaster. Those
Hmm.
kind of, I don't know if looking at the pictures, it almost looked like that kind of you're thrown in there. It's yeah. I just it just baffles me that in the 18th century they were doing that. 17th century I can get it. 16th century I can get it, but come the Georgian period, they were supposed to be entering this sort of new like
Hmm.
episode of treating people better, and you've got all the prison reformers and everything else coming out, and yet this was still being done. And it sort of made me, this is what problem with doing this show, it started making me question why, wanting to learn why it was still being done, whereas in other parts of the UK, everything was being cleaned up. And, there was still, the conditions weren't great, but you wouldn't have had people being shoved into windowless holes.
Yeah, and it is really impressive when you get down there as well. Those caves are something else, I still find it surprising that people still use those now, in their own homes. A lot of houses within Nottingham have got these hand dug caves
Mm,
in their basements. They go into the basement, and it's where they used to go and hide as families. And they're still there. They're still being used. And the one that's at the Robin Hood experience, that one's a really creepy little one.
Mm,
There's a little crawl space above it, which is super weird. It's full of mannequins, but beneath it is a very small hold, and the the mother had passed away, so it was just dad and children, and they used to hide in there quite a lot.
really?
So it's quite weird. So that's a great story. Some great stories in Nottingham,
Yeah.
and then you have the series of tunnels as well, which is just at the bottom of the hill. So you
Mm,
have the Justice Galleries, then you have the police station,
mm,
the old police station, and then you've got the caves, and
mm.
the caves still have the original tannery in there. It
Wow.
smells awful,
I bet.
and it was used as air shelters during the World War.
Mm,
So there's lots of things going on within Nottingham, and that's probably why it's just so haunted, why it's such an
possibly.
eerie place to be.
Possibly. You may wonder why I've just switched my video off. It's because the internet connection was saying it's unstable, so the video off sometimes helps rather than it cutting out. Um, yeah, I say it's just it say Nottingham, it just does seem to be almost like in the UK a centre of activity. And um yeah, I think if I had caves in my basement, I'd be running tours for people to sleep in them or something, just to make a bit of extra money to pay the mortgage off.
Hey,
Um,
pick a fortune.
so we also know that in 1876 there was a massive fire, that they'd done a load of development, massive fire comes in, destroys it. um, but in 1878 the jails were actually closed. You mentioned you don't want to jump in and say anything you think I'm going to come to in my notes. What have we not? I mean, we don't want to tell everyone everything about the place because we want people to experience their own thing. One of the things that I thought was quite amusing when I was doing my research is apparently there's an arch and it says over it, I think it says something like Nottingham Jail, and jail was originally spelled incorrectly. It was spelled Goal rather than
Yeah,
Gaol. I thought
yeah.
that quite amusing because I always find it amusing when I see people have written like when sign writers on the roads have spelled things wrong. I always find that quite amusing. Um, that did make me chuckle. But what else do you think? What other experiences of the galleries, without spoiling it for those people who are coming on the investigation with us all in September, what else do you think they need to know?
So I had a couple of other experiences whilst I was there. So on the first time that I went to the galleries, we'd gone for a walk around part of the museum. So they turned it into the museum. It was just off the courthouse. There were two courtrooms within there, and I'll come to the courtrooms in a minute.
Mm,
But we walked around the museum area, and it showed all the torture devices throughout the years and what was used, and it was completely pitch black, absolutely pitch black in this particular area. And I kept feeling really uneasy. I kept feeling like I couldn't breathe, like something was stuck in my throat. I was
hmm.
really struggling to sort of gasp for air. And it's in a well ventilated part of the building. Really started to panic, real anxiety setting in. A bit like how I was in the airport at the thought of not having
Oh,
fresh air for
okay. Yep,
14
yep.
hours. I really started to panic. I was in a really bad way. And I moved away. And we walked back through that way on the way back to base. And it happened again, same area, same location, just
Mm,
started panicking. And then at the end of the night, when we turned the lights on to go and collect all our equipment in, as we walked by, um, we were actually by some of the devices that were some of the torture devices that were used for witches. There was actually a
right.
ducking stool there.
Hmm.
And what was really odd is at the beginning of the night, we went with a psychic medium with Gary Fields,
Uh-huh.
and he came up to me, he just went, "Witch." I'm like, "I beg your pardon." He said, "This you've been here before. You're a witch." And never thought anything of it. I've always thought I've been a bit spooky in a previous life. I've probably been an old hag in a wood somewhere. Um, but I just thought it was really weird that he'd come out with this, called me a witch. So I was a witch in a previous life. And then every time I walked past the ducking stool in the dark and I didn't know it was there, I felt like I was choking, like I couldn't breathe.
Right.
So and that happened twice. So that was a really weird experience. And then I think another one was the last time that we investigated the galleries, is that there are two courtrooms. One was for criminal, one was for civil.
Hmm.
And the criminal courtroom is epic. It's this huge regal building. It's just beautiful with
Mm.
it's just so intricate. It's just the most beautiful place. And then going to the civil one, it's a smaller version. It's a bit grotty. So Nikki and I went into the civil court, and Nikki will admit that she's not particularly sensitive. She can walk
Mm.
into a room and she doesn't pick up any vibes. She'll openly admit that, and
Yeah.
she's told this story herself. And we went in, and we'd sat there, and we could hear like change jangling
Right.
within the courtroom. It was really weird. Everybody was downstairs in the pits. We're the only people that were on this floor, so we could hear change jangling. Okay, that's a bit weird. And some of the equipment was going off, and we just put it down to sort of breezes. And I said, let's go sit in some of the other seats. Let's go sit in the circle. So we went and sat ground floor in the lower circle. And she got to a certain point, I can't go any further. I don't want to go there. I don't want to walk there. And that's quite unusual a reaction for
Mm.
Nikki. So we sat back a couple of rows. I started taking some photos again with the iPhone, and I took five in succession, straight after each other. The first two, nothing. In the third one, you can see a white mist. In the
Mm.
fourth one, there is a black shadow figure of somebody sat in one of the seats in front of us. And in the fifth one, gone completely.
Mm.
And I have those. And once this has been aired and broadcast and it's shared on socials, I'll share those photos in the
Okay.
link.
Yeah,
So I will
definitely.
share
Thank
those
you.
photos with you because I have those. And that was really bizarre. We hadn't moved. It wasn't cold. We had no lights on. It was just literally click, 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 click five
Mm.
times. Nothing in the first two. Then a white mist forming. Then it was a black, solid black shadow of somebody sat right in front of us. In the fifth, it had gone completely, all within a matter of about 6 or 7 seconds. So that was really weird that she picked up on that energy first, that she
Mm.
felt like she couldn't go, she didn't want to go there. She just physically couldn't bring herself to walk any further. And that exact area she didn't want to sit is where we saw this figure manifest in front of us. I just wish that we kind of had some light on so we could have actually seen it with our own eyes rather than
Mm.
we were sat in the pitch black and all you could see was a green light from the exit sign about 4 meters away. So we were really fortunate to capture that, I think. But it's such a good location. It's so active, and there are so many different areas. There's the holding cells, the transportation cells, there's the pits, the debtors' prison, the courtyard, the women's cells, the court itself, the civil court, and then the stairs as well. So where the dock was, you would literally just come up from the pits, up the steps, and you'd be in the dock.
Mm.
That's how close you were.
Yeah.
So it's a really intimidating building, but it's so beautiful. History is amazing, and you can see that those courtrooms have been refurbished, especially after it was destroyed.
Mm.
They're, they're you can tell that that sort of period in which it was built and when it was refurbished. The stone is beautiful, the architecture, the outside is really, really impressive.
Yeah.
Uh, and it's got a great hotel directly across the road that do banging cocktails. So I've stayed
Okay.
there a few times just because the view, it's just nice to stay in a hotel and have that view.
Yeah.
Uh, Again, you can't help but look at it and look in the windows and thinking, he's going to be looking at us through that window. So you're always looking at the windows and just seeing if there's anything staring back at you. So it's such a great location. And
Um,
if I could move in, I would, but not in the
I'm
pit.
I'm looking forward to doing it in September. So if I was going to do a lone vigil, if you were going to put me somewhere in September to spend 20 minutes on my own and see what happens, where are you going to put me?
I would probably say the isolation cell, which is just off the pits.
Right.
So it is completely isolated. It's very dark, but you hear a lot of breathing in there.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be sat there. If you were to hold your breath and just sit still for as long as possible, you would hear people in there breathing quite heavily, not just one or two, but three or four.
Okay.
It's just like people are gasping for breath in there. That's a really interesting place. And what I'm looking forward to, especially in the pits and in the isolation areas, is that Ron and Lourdes are coming along to the investigation for the
Mm.
festival and are bringing the Staticon project.
Mm-hmm.
And we've experienced
We
Staticon
have.
firsthand, and we've
Yeah.
seen the audio evidence that comes from that.
Yep.
So to have Staticon in a location as old as that with so much history, think is going to be fascinating. I can't wait to see what comes out of that.
I think it's going to be the oldest place the two of them have ever used it in as well, because I don't think they've had it outside the States, have they? So,
I don't believe so, but they have been working with they do have partners and they've been developing the
hmm.
technology with others. So some of the technology's been used in Spain. So
Oh, has
it
it?
is
Ah, okay.
so it is something that has seen international waters, but this is the first time that Staticom will have come to the UK and
Yeah,
is being used for investigation in one of our oldest buildings. And even though the shell of the building is relatively new and they kept refurbishing it and
yeah.
making add-ons to it, they kept extending it. The land itself, the ground, the pits, the stone, the history of that particular area, that entire street, the Lace Market Street,
Mm,
it's so old, it's so unbelievably old. The cobbles out there are hundreds and hundreds of years old. And it's just something that unfortunately they don't have that kind of history in the
no.
States. So I'm really looking forward to seeing Staticom in there.
They don't have anywhere that was called Snot at Ingham.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. It's a shame that, isn't it?
Mm,
So what I found fascinating is when we were in Canada, we're looking at all the places, all the
mm.
names of the towns and the cities, and they're all named after North Yorkshire towns.
There
So
were quite a few, yes.
I felt quite at home. I mean, like there was actually Halifax, which is West Yorkshire, which is only a stone's throw from me.
Yeah.
So yeah, Halifax, I'm like, I'm all right here. I like it. Um, but but it's interesting that whilst sort of our ancestors they went over to America and they named all these places after British places,
Yeah.
and it's just interesting that that the modern day ones they didn't give them the old sort of like Jorvik towns, and it's just think it's bonkers that we share the same names yet.
Mm,
There's history to the names of our towns. They've come from somewhere.
yeah.
Um, and they're fortunate enough that they've got the good side of that. They've got the good names, and they're not named after snotty people.
Well, there you go. There you go. So, are there any tickets available to the ghost hunt?
There are, so we have released some more tickets. It did
Woo!
sell out. It sold out completely within the first 3 days. So what we've done is due to the cancellation of the coach tour, I am now able to release a few more. So we have released some more tickets, and it is a first come first served basis. You will find those within the create your own package tab on the ticket site. So if you go in there, you can select to do the ghost hunt and any other bits you want to do. But we did release some more, but it just sold out so quickly. And I kept thinking, right, well, we need to find somewhere else. Could
Yeah.
we squeeze anything else in? We were looking to do the caves as well, but
Yeah.
unfortunately, because there are so many people and the building
Mm,
is so vast and the short time of space we have it,
mm,
we didn't want to split it so people only had 20 minutes in each
yeah.
area. So we've decided to just do the Justice Galleries. And I know there's quite a few people that are coming to the festival doing the investigation. They've been to the Justice Galleries.
Mm,
So when I say how incredible it is and how spooky and how weird it is, I know that all of them will vouch for me because once you've been and you've experienced the building, you'll never want to go anywhere else. It's just phenomenal.
I have
It,
never heard a bad word, if you get what I mean, said about
yeah,
it. But I will make a deal with people listening. If you've not bought a ticket to the investigation, if you guys can sell out this next batch of tickets, I will do a lone vigil in the isolation cell.
oh, it's creepy. And oh, Jack actually got a shiver down my spine then.
Oh,
I'd
but
rather
trust me,
you
you
than
can't
me.
see me now because I've turned the camera off. But right now, my body is saying, "What the hell are you doing?" I'm trying to sell you tickets here, babe. If you lot sell out the investigation tickets, the next batch that's been released, I promise I will do a lone vigil in that cell.
It's not a great
There you
place.
go. There you go.
It's
That's a
worth it just to
deal.
throw
I'll
you
do
in
this for
there.
you. This, even though you've been insulting me pretty much this whole conversation, I will do this for you, Ashman. I
You love the banter. She loves the cheeky northern banter.
Oh dear.
Honestly,
But no, seriously, in all seriousness,
you've had
if
9 days of it.
I know, I came back to recover and more southern, sort of just swearing at me in my face. I tell you, if you guys sell out the next batch of ghost hunt tickets for the Galleries of Justice, I will do a lone vigil in the isolation cell.
I think that sounds like a deal.
It's a deal. If it's
Yes.
recorded, it's out there in the ether. I will do
This
a
is a
loan.
formal verbal contract,
This is
is
a
this,
formal verbal
PGM?
contract. I know, I know.
Hmm.
I did think about it before I said it. It's my gift to you, Ashman, that
Thank you.
I will probably turn myself grey in 15 minutes or run out screaming, which I've never done on an investigation ever, just to try and sell tickets for you. I will pimp
And
myself out to sell tickets.
I do believe though that if the spirits are coming out to play that night, I think you'll probably find that it's probably the most active and one of the weirdest places you've ever been to.
Mm,
It offers so much. There's so much different kinds of activity.
mm,
Have residual energy in there,
mm,
and there are shadow figures. You're actually physically touched in there. You have
hmm.
emotional reactions to things that you can't even see,
Yeah.
and it's. I don't believe in coincidences. To be told that I was a witch in a previous life, and then to be choking by the ducking stool, I
Mm,
just find it a really bizarre coincidence. And for it to
yeah.
happen twice, and I'm in the dark and don't know why, it's just weird. And to bring home something that terrified my daughter to the point where she tried to get out of the car,
Mm.
and
That's strange.
I've I brainwash my kids. They don't fear death. They don't fear
Yep.
anything spooky or paranormal. They
Yep.
would rather know what it is than
Yep.
than run away from it.
Yep.
When Cora, my small one, was around 3 years old, she had my voice recorder, and I've got a video. It's a great video, and she's recording saying, "Hello, does anybody want to talk to me?" It's a great video, and she sat there with a voice recorder. So yeah, they're kind of brainwashed, but for it to terrify Iris to that
Yeah.
degree, I mean, there's something not quite right with that
Yeah.
building and the
Definitely.
energy that's within it. So if I sent that back to the Justice Galleries and he's still there, he's going to want to come back again. Who's he going to try and attach to next? Who is he? And let's go find out who he was. I'd love to know who he was.
Well,
Let's see
you
if Staticom can get us some answers. Let's do some EVPs with Dave. Let's work with Findy.
yeah.
So you got the opportunity to investigate with what we would class as seasoned professionals. They
Yep.
know what they're doing. They've been
Yep.
doing it a long time.
And there've been
So
some
I'm
pretty
look.
gnarly places as well.
Yes, they have. Yeah, and
Mm,
whilst within America they may not have a great deal of history, their history is so macabre
mm,
that it's and we saw for ourselves when we went to Penhurst, we went to
mm.
Candyland, and you look at the conditions in which those children were living, and it just absolutely blows your mind, and you can absolutely understand why some of these places in America are so haunted.
Yeah.
But here, we've got the history and just how poorly people were treated on top of that.
Yeah.
It's a recipe for disaster, isn't it? So it's so active in the Justice Galleries, and it is to this day my favorite location in the United Kingdom.
That is a big statement from Madame
And I
Rachel
and
Ashman, the Yorkshire
and
Queen.
I have been about a bit as well. So
She has.
I've been
I'm
about a
glad
bit.
you said it before I did. So if people want tickets, where do they go?
Head to festivaloftheunexplained.com, and if you go into the menu section, you'll see tickets. You can also see all the information about what's coming up, who's going to be there. Some bios are on there, and you can have a look at some of the photos from the previous year. But if you head to the ticket section, we have some VIP tickets available. Yes, they are a little bit pricey, but my goodness, you get a lot for it.
Yeah.
And we have some payment options as well, so you don't have to pay it all off at once. So you can pay those in installments. We also have the create your own package. You can choose to purchase the ghost hunts. The only thing you can't book is the ghost walk with you, and you cannot book the evening meals on the Saturday and Sunday.
Hmm.
So you can book onto the ghost hunt, you can book on to see Cindy, the day ticket for Saturday and the day ticket for Sunday. Now, what we're doing this year is completely different, and we're actually opening it up to families. And the reason we've done that is that we had so many people that really wanted to attend the festival but struggled for childcare.
Mm.
So what we've done is we've had a look go away, we've spoken to our insurance, and we've managed to reduce the age range. So long as so if you're under 18, you're accompanied by an adult, you're welcome to come just during the day. There is no option for anybody under the age of 18 to attend the after parties, the festival awards. So you can't do that. But anyone under the age of 18 that's accompanied by an adult is welcome to join us for the talks, the stall holders come for photos, autographs, hugs, and experience the festival. So it's a great opportunity to start introducing the younger generation to the paranormal and to see exactly what it is we do, and so we can
Mm,
learn from each other. They might
definitely.
have some amazing ideas that they've thought up of. Just playing video games might give them an idea to try
Yep.
something new. So this is a new wave, a new generation, and my small people are going to be there. They're going
Oh,
to
are they
come on the
coming?
Sunday. On the
Oh,
Sunday, my
cool.
small people are going
Awesome.
to be there. So, and
Awesome.
Iris is thrilled because she still gets starstruck when she talks to you. I'll be like, oh,
She's
I'm
so
talking to Penny.
gorgeous.
I'm like, I'm talking to Penny. She's like, oh my God, oh, really? And as Cora went to bed, I said, I'm just talking to Penny. Penny says hello, and she went all shy. And
Oh.
because you're Penny on the TV, you're not Penny Mummy's friend. You're Penny on the TV.
Yeah, well, even your
So
dad says that about me, doesn't he?
that it went that blonde piece from Essex.
Yeah,
The,
my eldest son is still like, nah, it's not my mum, it's just my mum. She's nothing special. Whereas his mate's like, your mum's on telly and writes books and stuff. Yeah,
Mm.
it's sweet. No, my small people won't be coming because yeah, I want to get away with it from them for a few days. But the eldest is definitely he's in training, shall we say, and if he carries on the way he is, he's going to be pretty good because he
Mhm.
doesn't get screamy and he questions everything. So I've just got to get him to be confident enough to come out with ideas of things. He's getting there. He's getting there. So we are.
Okay, he'll get there, and
We will.
he'll have all his own ideas as well.
Yep.
It's about learning about what other people do, and just
Mm,
take bits of that, create something new. When I investigate, I love a good old Victorian sort of parlor trick and
yeah.
putting a twist on it. I love using water. I like using people's energy.
Mm.
I'm not a fan of Ouija boards. I don't do Ouija boards, and I don't do cat balls. And don't get me started on cat balls. But those are two things that I don't do. But I do love a good Victorian parlor trick. But it's how we adapt those for the modern world and using some technology to try and explain that away.
Yeah.
So we all pick up on different bits that we're comfortable with. He may have a more scientific mind, or he may want to sort of lean towards spirituality, and whatever works for you
I
is
think once he
there's no
gets past the
right or wrong
teenage
way.
thing, once he gets past the teenage thing, it's going to be back to the spirituality because he can actually sense things. He's at that hormonal sort of I'm a teenager, I'm tough, I'm hard.
Is
But
Kevin and Perry
it's
phase.
the Kevin and Perry. Definitely me and that. Thank you so much
Oh,
for that,
very
Rachel. I hope
welcome.
it wasn't too traumatic because
No,
I'm
I've just kind of bullied you all the way through it, so it was good fun.
yeah, cheers. You realise I'm stocking all this stuff up and I will get my own back at some point. I'll go full on
You mean
Essex.
you mean being sat in a car with you for 5 days wasn't torture enough?
And on that note, thank you ever so much for listening to this episode of Haunted Histories. If you want to see me do a lone vigil in an isolation cell built into a blooming cave, make sure you buy your tickets for the investigation and come along to the Festival of the Unexplained in September. Also, if you want to back me up next time Ashman is picking on me, please come. Please come and help me because I'm feeling very bullied right now.
Oh
Um,
no, you're not. Behave yourself.
But on that note, yes, thank you ever so much for listening. There will be another podcast coming in around a month, and hopefully, if I can tie the person down who I'm going to be interviewing, it'll be another doozy. You've been so lucky this year with the podcasts I've been giving you. So if you have any questions, please do feel free to email me at hauntedhistories@virginmedia.com. But on that note, I'll see you again soon. Have a good evening, sleep tight, and don't worry too much about things that go bump in the night.